Shalom. I'd like to first start off giving our praises and glory to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. Peace and blessings to all the brothers around the world that's pushing this truth and faith and in sincerity, who potentially are of the elect. The name of this video is going to be called, How Much Does the Truth Cost? How much does the truth cost? I'm going to go through some scriptures and explain the answer to how much the truth costs. You know, the truth does not, you don't have to pay money to receive this truth, but the truth is going to cost you something. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the scriptures to explain the answer to how much does the truth cost. And hopefully by the time I'm done, I brought out some edification to one of the elect members out there. So this is the book of Luke, chapter 14, verse 28. So, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and start from the 25th verse. This is Luke, chapter 14, verse 25. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. So Yahweh Shai said, look, to all he said to the great multitude, and this applies to us in this day and age that we're living in the last days that we're living in. If you make the conscious decision, even though Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai wakes you up, you know, if you make it up in your mind, look, I'm gonna follow Yahweh Shai. I'm gonna follow these, which is now we follow Yahweh Shai in the form of these scriptures. You have to put everything else secondary to Yahweh Shai, meaning to the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures and the application of them, meaning apply these scriptures in your life. You know, rehearse the righteous acts, the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, be a brother to the brethren. You know, deal accordingly to these scriptures. You have to put everything else has to be put secondary to this truth, meaning the focal point of your life has to become these scriptures, and everything else falls behind that. And that's what the 26th verse is saying. Even your own life, you know. And ultimately you have to count it as nothing, even though we have to go through society and deal with, you know, your family. You know, if you have a woman, if you have kids, especially if you live with them. You know, you living, you know, your life in this kingdom, is certain things that you have to do. You have to go to work, you know, you have to pay bills, whatever, you know, the things that's basically go to work, pay bills. That's primary, and you have to do that. But you can't be focused on your job and being a perfect citizen, man. You have to focus on these scriptures. So reading on, this is the 27th verse in Luke 14. And whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So Yahweh Shai was saying, basically, if you're not willing to put your life aside and make me the focus, meaning the understanding that he's given in these scriptures, and you know, put your family, your so-called, put all that stuff secondary, and know that you're gonna catch hell, because Yahweh Shai caught hell. That's what the 27th verse is talking about. It's talking about the different trials that Yahweh is going to send in your life to try you, to refine you as an Israelite man. So reading on, 28th verse, it says, "For which of you intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it?" And this is an analogy that Yahushua is using to relate to the men that would have to make a decision. Are they gonna follow Yahushua or just remain in the state that they were in? You know, so you gotta count the cost. Now the scripture is talking about counting the cost of building a tower, and if you have enough or have sufficient, everything you need, you know, money basically to finish building. Now how it relates to us, we're the tower. We're the tower that's will be built up in this truth, in the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures. And you have to make a decision, and you're supposed to count the cost. You know, an unwise man won't count the cost, and you're gonna end up being mocked, as I read on in the scriptures. So you're supposed to count the cost and say, you know what? Am I willing to give up my life to be built up as a spiritual man in this truth? Am I willing to give up my way, what I think about how life should go, and my so-called rules and regulations that govern my life? Or am I going to submit myself to Yahushua so that I can be built up from the starting with the foundation? The foundation is the milk, which is the basics of the scripture, the basic understanding of the scriptures, you know, and from there you get solid on that, and then you build from there. Read 28 verse again. "For which of you intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish it?" So you're supposed to count the cost. And what is the cost? That's the name of this video, is how much does the truth cost? The cost is your life. You giving up your life is the price you're going to have to pay to be in this truth. So reading on, the 29th verse, it says, "Least happily, after he had laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that beheld it began to mock him." So how that relates to the ones that come into this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, they start their mission on being built up in the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures, and they did not count the cost. This is what's going to happen if you don't count the cost. You're going to start building, and then in this knowledge, being edified, that means to be built up. And then you're going to fall out. It's going to come a point where you didn't have what it took to endure to the end to finish your course in this truth. And you got to count the cost. Am I willing to give up my life, you know, to follow Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua? And these guys that put out that serious vibration that I'm an Israelite, they were excited about it. They started teaching, you know, they started studying. They became part of a camp. You know, they started rehearsing the righteous acts, pushing out a very serious vibration that, look, I'm down for the cause of the truth. I'm willing, you know, I'm here to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And then all of a sudden you flip out and fall out, you know. And you can fall out of this truth in many different ways, you know. And if that happens, you're gonna look like a damn fool, and you deserve to be mocked. Because how is a man that put out this very serious vibration of I'm in the truth, I'm pushing this truth, I care for the elect of the nation of Israel, and then you fall out of the truth? That means you didn't have what it took, or what it takes to continue or to finish building your spiritual tower, which represents you, you know. So I'm going to read on. It says, this verse 30, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. And we've seen countless examples. You know, I've personally seen examples in my short time in this truth, you know, of guys that started building themselves up in this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as an Israelite man, and then they fell off, meaning the building stopped and they went back into the world, you know. Verse 31, or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulted whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? So just giving you another analogy. You know, you have to sit down and think about this, man, and say, you know what? You got to put forth that conscious effort and say, am I built for this? Am I ready for this battle? You know, because in this truth, this is a spiritual war, you know, and really all odds are against you in this truth. And the only way you're going to win this war is if you dedicate your life and make Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai the center of your life, the focal point of your life. Everything else comes secondary. Your mind is focused in these scriptures, you know, and making sure you fear following these scriptures. Mean you fear going off. You fear not doing what these scriptures say to do, you know. And if a person is going out to battle and to fight a war, and the numbers in your army is smaller than who you're going up against, you're gonna have to sit down and see if you got what it takes to win the war. Because the war can be won. You just you have to sit down and counsel about it and see, you know, or will you be able to win this war, you know? So I'm gonna read on. This is verse 32. Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an embassage and desired conditions of peace, you know. So if you see that you're not gonna win the war, then, you know, the scripture talk about in Revelation 3:15, the Most High will rather you be cold or hot, and if you lukewarm, he gonna spew you out. So if you ain't got what it take, man, just stay in the world, because you're gonna be destroyed anywhere it go. If you start building up in this truth and this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you're gonna be, and then eventually you fall off because you didn't count the cost and know that you were gonna have to give up your whole entire life and dedicate your life to this truth, you know. And now going back to the analogy of war, you know, going to war with a small number against a greater number, you're gonna have to, what you might have to do, what you're really gonna have to do, you're gonna have to train very hard. You're gonna have to make sure all the men in your army are very skilled and they're gonna have to put all their time into warfare and training, guerrilla warfare tactics, whatever it takes, but hardcore training and preparations to fight a bigger army. You know, so the same thing with this truth. And if you don't have what it takes, then just call it quits and stay in the world. That's just what it is. Revelation 3 and 15. Because like I was saying, if you start your journey in this truth, building up in this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and then you fall out, you're gonna be in a worse state than you were when you didn't know you were Israelite, when you didn't know the truth. And your judgment is gonna be greater. How about that? Your judgment is gonna be greater knowing this truth and falling out than if you just didn't even put your hand to the plow and start putting in this work. So I'm reading on verse 33. It says, so likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he had, he cannot be my disciple. So you got to be willing to give up anything that may be getting in the way of you focusing on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You have to forsake the old way. Some things, a lot of things you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to forsake a lot of things to be in this truth, man. And it all really starts with your mind, according to Romans, the 12th chapter, the 2nd verse. You're going to have to reform. The first thing, you're going to have to transform your mind. And that's a process. And when you transform your mind, renew your mind, become as a newborn babe, you have to forsake you have to forsake everything. All your thought patterns and the plans that you had, you got to forsake that. But I did. And I know that, sincere brothers and serious brothers did the same. That's the only way. I had all kind of bullshit in my mind, man, on what I was going to do in life. Plans, rules that I govern myself by on the planet Earth. I had to forsake all that, give it up, and deal with what the scriptures say do. So what does the truth cost? It costs you giving up your life, man. Giving up your way and subjecting yourself, becoming under the rule of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai by following these scriptures as they're written. Now I'm going to get another scripture. This is Colossians chapter 3. Colossians 3 and 3. So Colossians 3 and 3. It says, for ye are dead and your life is hid with Yahushai or Mashiach in the Most High Yahweh. So we're not physically dead, but the old man that you used to be, you have to kill that man. That man has to die, and you have to become a new man. And your life has to be according to these scriptures. You're going to live in these scriptures. And the reason the scriptures say your life is hid in Mashiach in Yahweh is because this world is infested with wickedness. We're living in a gross darkness of a society, a world. And you have to cut off that great big world of darkness in order for you to live, to have life in this truth. And it doesn't necessarily mean you cut off physically. If you got a woman and children, you don't cut them off. You don't stop going to work. You just gotta. It all starts with the renewing of your mind on how to deal with these things in conjunction with the truth. Being wise as a serpent. So your life is hid in these scriptures, man. And the world doesn't have to know that, you know, you in this truth. Eventually they will know, because we're gonna be made a grand spectacle of, and demonized and put on the forefront as you know, terrorists of the planet Earth. They're gonna put that out there. You know, the so-called white man Esau is gonna put that out there. So what does it cost? How much does the truth cost? I'm sorry, how much does the truth cost? It's gonna cost you giving up your life. That means killing that old man, giving up that old guy you used to be, how that old guy used to think. You thought you had everything figured out, you know, and you're gonna have to live according to these scriptures, man. So I want to get St. John chapter 12 verse 25. Okay, St. John chapter 12 verse 25. He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hated his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. So he that loveth his life shall lose it. Meaning, if you love, what is basically saying, you're not willing to change. You love the life. You love the way that society is ran. You love being wicked. So if that's how you feel, then you're gonna be destroyed, man. And you're not willing to pay the cost. So either way, it's either if you don't come into this truth, or if you come in and you fall off, you're gonna be destroyed in either way, you know. But the cost you have to, or you're gonna have to pay, is you're gonna have to hate your life in this world, because we're looking for the kingdom of heaven to come on the planet Earth, where everything is gonna be based off righteousness. The laws, statutes, and commandments are gonna be in full effect on the planet Earth. You know, every thought and decision you make is gonna be right in the kingdom. And on this side, you gotta battle with demons. You know, you in captivity. You're dwelling amongst nothing but wickedness. You should not love this life. You should hate it. And if you don't, you're gonna lose it. So that's one aspect of how much does the truth cost. It's gonna cost you giving up your way in your life and coming and subjecting yourself unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai. I'm gonna get a couple of more scriptures and I'm gonna close out. This is Acts chapter 21 verse 13, and this is the other aspect of how much does the truth cost. The truth could literally cost you your life. And then you have to be in that mindset that, look, I'm in this thing, I'm willing to give up my life. I'm willing to die, literally be put to death for believing in the truth of these scriptures. And that's the cost of being in this truth. Many men of the Lord died believing in Yahushua. Okay, Acts 21:13. Then Paul answered, What mean ye to weep and to break mine heart? For I am ready not to be bound only, but also to die at Jerusalem for the name of the Lord Yahushua. So Paul counted the cost. Paul understood and knew what he was up against. And he knew that, look, me teaching Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you know, I'm facing death, imprisonment. Paul said in Philippians 3:8 that he gave up everything that he had, his position that he had, to gain the knowledge and the excellency of Yahushua, you know. So Paul gave up his life in that manner. The position he had as a man that was believed in, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and that can deliver you. He gave that up and said, oh shit, that ain't what it is. And he had to be retaught, and he had to put that aside so that he can gain the knowledge of the truth. Because they were slandering Paul. Well, they believed that Paul was teaching all the Israelite foreigners that, look, you don't have to keep the law of Moses, you don't have to circumcise your children to be delivered. So they were saying that they believed that Paul, the ones of the circumcision, the Jews, they believed that Paul was teaching against the law of Moses. They said they had suspicion that Paul had brought Greeks, which were Israelite foreigners, not actual Greeks, into the temple and defiled the temple. So Paul understood, look, I know what the Jews, they of the circumcision, believe. And look, I'm ready to not only be locked up for this, but I'm ready to die for this. And that's the mindset that we have to be in. Romans 15:4 says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So I'm gonna give one more scripture and I'm gonna close it out. So this is Sirach chapter 4 verse 28. And it reads, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. So that's how much the truth is going to cost. You're going to have to be willing to give up your life, pay the price of your life, literally, and give up the old man that you used to be. That's the cost you got to pay to be in this truth. That's how much it costs. With that, I want to give once again all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to all the brothers around the world that are pushing this truth and faith and in sincerity, who potentially are the elect. Shalom.